So today, we're not just going to tell a story, we're going to decode it. We're going to take this ancient myth of Mahishasura and Durga and reveal it for what it truly is, a detailed map to the war happening inside your own mind, right now.
Okay, let's just dive right in with this line, because it cuts right to the chase. And this, right here, isn't just some clever phrase. It's the key that unlocks this whole thing. It suggests that by keeping this story external, a simple myth of good versus evil, we conveniently get to avoid a much more difficult and a much more personal truth.
But before we get to that deeper truth, let's do a quick flyby of the popular version of the story, the one you were probably told, the one we were all fed.
Yeah, it's a story you've probably heard a million times, right? The buffalo demon, Mahishasura, he gets this boon that makes him pretty much invincible. So what does he do? He goes on a rampage, conquers the heavens, and kicks the gods out. So in this last-ditch effort, they combine all their divine energies to create the goddess Durga. She battles him for 9 grueling nights, and finally, on the 10th day, boom, victory. You've got a clear hero, a clear villain, simple.
Except, what if that simple narrative, that clean hero versus villain story, is just completely misunderstood? This is where we pivot. This is where we go from ancient myth to, well, modern psychology.
All right, so let's get to the core of this reinterpretation. The real enemy isn't some demon out there. The real enemy is raw, unfiltered instinct, right here, in here.
And here's how we flip the whole script. You see, the myth gives us an external monster, something to point at, something to blame. But the psychological truth, that forces us to look inward. Mahishasura stops being a demon, and he becomes a symbol for our own raw, unevolved, instinctual patterns.
So what does that actually mean? Well, Mahisha literally means buffalo. And really think about a buffalo's nature for a second. It's got this immense strength, right? A deep resistance to being moved and sudden, crazy aggression when provoked. Mahishasura is your animal brain. It's that flash of road rage, that stubborn refusal to admit you're wrong, the procrastination that keeps you stuck. He isn't evil. He's just an unevolved force.
And this so brilliantly explains why the gods couldn't defeat him. In this way of thinking, the gods are our higher faculties, our logic, our intellect, our morality. But come on, have you ever known exactly what you should do? Eat healthier, get off your phone, say you're sorry, but you still did the exact opposite? That's your logic being steamrolled by a deeper habit. That, right there, is your gods losing to Mahishasura.
And that's the absolute gut punch of a takeaway here. You cannot just think your way out of a deeply ingrained instinctual pattern. Intellect by itself is not enough to win this war. So if our best intentions, our intellect, our gods, if they're not enough, then what the heck is? Well, this is where the story redefines our hero. She's not a created being. She is an assembled consciousness.
And this is a huge shift in thinking. Durga isn't some external savior you pray to. She is a state of integrated consciousness. She is what emerges when all of our higher parts, our intellect, our will, our emotions, our discipline, when they all stop fighting each other and unite into a single focused force. She isn't born, she is assembled right inside of us.
And you have to look at the symbolism of her ride, the lion. This is so important. Mahishasura, the buffalo, that's instinct running wild, unchecked. But Durga's lion, that's the same primal energy, but it's been tamed. It's instinct brought under conscious command. The goal isn't to kill the animal inside you, it's to master it.
But look, assembling this consciousness is one thing. Actually waging the war, that's a whole other ballgame. And it wasn't a quick fight for a very powerful reason. This is the 9-night battle.
I mean, the fact that this battle takes 9 nights, that might just be one of the most important psychological lessons in this whole story. We all want that instant win, that one single moment of triumph. But overcoming our deepest, most stubborn habits, that's not an event. It is a prolonged, difficult process.
Each one of those 9 nights represents the fight to break through another layer of our instincts. And we are talking about the big ones, the fundamental human challenges. You look at that second step, laziness. That's not just about hitting the snooze button. It's that deep, heavy inner battle against inertia. Or ego, the fight against that burning need to always be right. This is the play-by-play of the inner war.
But here's the part that's kind of hard to swallow. Durga doesn't have a chat with Mahishasura.
She doesn't reform him. She destroys him. And the interpretation here is stark. Some deeply unconscious destructive patterns, you can't negotiate with them. They can't be reformed. They have to be eliminated entirely for a higher consciousness to take over.
Okay, so let's land this plan. Let's bring this all right back home, to the truth about you. And this, right here, is why this way of looking at the story makes a lot of people uncomfortable. It's easy, it feels good, to celebrate the idea of the victorious goddess. It's much, much harder to look in the mirror and admit that, in a lot of areas in our lives, we are still the buffalo, resistant to change, and honestly, perfectly comfortable staying stuck in the mud.
So let's make this crystal clear. Mahishasura is not some monster from an ancient text. He's not a character from the past.
He's your own stubborn resistance to growth. He is that voice inside that says, "This is just how I am." He's that feeling of digging your heels in when you're challenged. The part of you that fights tooth and nail to stay in its comfort zone, no matter how small that zone has become. And if that's true, then it also means that Durga is not some distant deity you put on an altar. She's not just an idea to admire from afar. She is a state of integrated awareness to be achieved. She is the potential that is already inside you to bring all the parts of yourself, your strength, your mind, your heart, together into one powerful conscious whole. So when you put it all together, it all comes down to this one final powerful question for you. The 10th day, Vijaya Dashami, marks that victory over instinct. So the question this whole story forces us to ask is not if your victory will come, but when you will finally begin the fight. When does your 10th day begin?